Hey, my name's ShawNshawN. I sell art on ShawNshawN.co and screen reads on ShawNshawNacting.com. Today we're going to review the Forever Purge. So this is a film by Everardo, Gout. Time is 1 hour and 43 minutes. It has actors Reguera Adela, Josh Lucas as Dylan Tucker, Will Patton as Mr. Tucker, the father figure. Cassidy Freeman plays Cassidy Tucker, Tenoch Huerta plays Juan, and Alejandro Edda plays TT. So it's purge time again, right? So the morning after the purge, everyone thinks it's over. They open up the barn, and this takes place now in a Texas ranch kind of thing where you have rich ranchers and they have Mexican hands. And Mexican families escaping from Mexico and the cartels, and they're kind of starting a new life in America as the lower class paid workers in slaughterhouses or on a ranch. And they've gotten a better life, and then the first purge comes up and like, okay, we're gonna hide away. They hide away, and then they survive it, and then the next day the purgers just keep purging and purging and purging. And this time it has this really deep racial undertone to it, so it's kind of interesting that they have the people in the part of the purge are actually most of them are white racists, so kind of this white supremacy thing. Nationwide they're taking over. So that's kind of, and these this Mexican family who escaped the cartels, kind of the face off with these crazy purgers with this ranch family. So I would say just right off the bat, it's kind of follows kind of a stereotype off of what CNN is portraying. CNN is portraying like white racism and white supremacy all the time in the news, which is completely clickbait and false. I think they're completely exaggerating that, but in a film, I think this is an appropriate way to cover it, even if it's stereotypical. It's a film, so a film you have that leeway, whereas the news it should really be about journalism, which I don't think it is nowadays, unfortunately. So this is kind of similar in the overtones of The Hunt. The Hunt was poor Republicans square off against rich liberals. This one's kind of, the racist ones maybe Republican, you don't know. They don't say the party, they just say they're white supremacists, so they don't say it's a party overtone, but it's kind of like, the normal Americans versus the extremists. So has kind of a little bit of touch to that. But I think in a way, this purge kind of gets to the reality of the COVID and how people went through COVID, and people were very angry after the COVID, and a lot of people had a lot of, depression. And so this would be the perfect year to start the purge, guys. Just get rid of all that COVID anger in one shot, right? I think that would make for a great story if they had planned it right, and just do it right based off COVID. Like the beginning of the purge is actually tied right directly into COVID. Would be awesome, I think. That's an idea for some director to do. I think, living in a small town, I've lived in major cities, of course, that are well integrated or segregated in Chicago's case. Living in a small town, there are kind of hints of racism, but I think it gets more closer to the ranch son, who the ranch father, he's not racist and he has these Mexican hands, but the son he's not the best cowboy, and the Mexican hands tend to be better cowboys than him. And so when they show him up, he kind of shows this racist kind of thing, like where he was thinking, oh, we should just be segregationists, we should be the whites only and the Mexicans do their thing, and kind of this backwards like 1950s mentality. But I mean, if you look in a small town, there is kind of this mentality where they're not really hunt down the blacks or kind of thing, but they would be, anti-immigrant. They're kind of, segregationist a little bit, like, this town for my people only kind of thing. And there's definitely an undertone to that, but it's still mostly a minority. I think if you take a lot of those people to a big city, they're going to be like, oh, wow, there's a lot of different people, right? They're not going to be openly racist. So, it's kind of stretching the truth, but the ranch son is kind of probably where that real racism in America is, the reality is, I think, versus kind of the purgers are off the deep end, and the fact that they suggest the purgers nationwide are racist, it's just preposterous. My guess personally would be like it might be 2% of people in the U.S. are racist, like at that level where they go and do a race war. So I think that's a big stretch of the imagination. I think if you come as an immigrant, you're gonna maybe see it through that lens. You would definitely feel that way. You would feel, because there's a lot of bias coming in. You have to work your way from the bottom. You don't have the education. You don't have the connections. You don't have that. So it would have that feel of, you're Latino, especially first generation immigrant, you're going to feel like, oh yeah, this purge could be possible. Right? From their lens, it would definitely feel like this is a possibility. So, it just depends, I think, where you're from. Small town, growing up, big city, you would be like, oh yeah, there's these crazy racists online, but You know what I mean? This is funny. I feel like, you know, with the Purge, they kind of went over, you know, like this is a plot that's left over in the sense, like they did the presidential one and they were going after presidential campaigns. And after that, it was like, where do you go from there? This is an interesting twist, but I think it should have probably come before the presidential version, because the presidential one should probably be the finale of the series, I think, in my view, where they just get over the top and they lose control and the presidential candidates may be taken out. Like that to me is like a great final end to the Purge in the series. But to have it kind of go from the presidential campaigns, now it's just race war, it's kind of like, okay, it's kind of a weaker thing. It would have been great before they did the presidential one, I think. The other flaw I would say in this is there's not many spectacular killings. So if you see the earlier Purges, one of the key elements is they always come with new ways to kill people. More and crazier ways with flame tortures, interesting ways to kill people and all that stuff. And they just don't have that in the film. They're just killing them with machine guns. There's like one interesting kind of catch one in a trap kind of thing, and they show it in the marketing, so you're not really surprised. And there's only one kind of cool mousetrap feature in this, and there's nothing else as far as original type of killing, or, you know, there's this race thing, but that's it. So it's not really, they just could have done a lot more work, I think, on the stunts and kind of inventing different cool ways to kill people, because that's kind of what people come for. The Purge is, you're a horror fan, you want to see death, you want to see interesting ways people are killed, and this is just kind of average way to kill people with machine guns and shotguns and pistols, and you're like, okay, we've seen that again. But, you know, if this is the first Purge, that would be exciting, but it's the 6th or 7th or whatever. So, you know, that was kind of lazily stunt build writing into the script. There's just lack of good stunts in this. You know, stuntman, I don't know who to blame that is. I guess this is director or script writer, but how do you write scripts for the stunts? But, you know, I guess they can do it. The other flaw in this is, you know, if there was a Purge, would, you know, immigrants still be coming to the U.S.? It seems like you would be like, we might be killed every year. Like, I don't know if you'd want to come. Maybe you just go to Canada instead, or you go to Europe and say, like, screw America, they're crazy now, right? But, you know, if you look at countries like Saudi Arabia, where they have a really strict penal code and people get executed publicly, they still have immigrants from Africa and other poor Muslim countries. So it's definitely possible. So it's in the realm of possibility, but it's kind of like seems strange if you're Mexican. Why wouldn't you just go to Canada and say pass the whole U.S.? But obviously there's way more jobs in the U.S. I think Canada's like, I want to say 5 million or 3 million or something like that. And the U.S. is 350 million. So it's literally 10 times the size. So 10 times the amount of jobs, obviously, right? The timing's really good. And, you know, it's just the lack of really cool, interesting way to kill people. Not that you want to celebrate that, but this film is about that. And so the fact they don't have it, I think the way I would improve the film, which would have been super cool, is you have the American Rancher and you keep that part of the film and then kind of shorten it a little bit and have them get into Mexico, and then you have the Purgers versus the Cartel come and somehow involve the Cartel, and then this family's stuck in the middle, and an awesome combination because the Cartel are completely freaking ruthless. And so if you had the Cartel versus the Purgers and you had like kind of a war break out between US and Mexico with the Purge going out of control and the Cartel, I think that would have been super badass. You know, then it would have made sense, like somehow the Purgers started chasing the Mexicans and they killed a couple Cartel members by mistake, and then the Cartel start whacking them off. That would have been a freaking awesome film, because the Cartel are totally ruthless. So it's not like, you know, people are going to lay down. I mean, the people that come to the States as immigrants are hard workers, and so to say that they can be ruthless as well and they're just going to be good citizens, yeah, the ones that immigrant, sure, but the ones definitely across the border in Mexico and the gangs and the cartels, they're freaking totally ruthless. I mean, they do public hanging, kill people, hang them up on the telephone poles, just really terrible things. And if you would have blended that into the film, I think you could have used some of the cartel style killing in the film, and that would have made him way more over the top, like, holy crap, man. So I think that's the way I would improve the film. Obviously, you're not going to reshoot it because it's already done, but if you could go back in time and redo the film, I think I'd definitely pull on the Cartel. It would have been a way more interesting element, I think, and you would contrast the Cartel as the business side versus the business versus these crazy racists. That would have made more sense, I think. Anyway, that's my take. It's kind of okay. It's definitely wait till video. I don't think you're going to... Usually I like to see horror in films, but there's nothing over the top here that's going to be like, wow, you know, there's no great sound effects, there's no great killing effects. It's just like an average action killing film, I guess. But anyway, that's my take. Hopefully you guys like it. If you'd like to subscribe, you can subscribe below. And I'll see you in the next movie review. Thanks for watching, guys.